אז זהו.
Hi,
שלום.
welcome to Tzuzamen.
Tzuzamen, we are here. I'm
A
Tzipi.
new episode. I'm Tzili.
She's Tzili.
And we have today.
Before that, just for the people to know that we are here to enlarge our mind, to meet people who can really enrich us, right? Every week, Tzuzamen together. And today we have
Dr. Eyal Doron.
Wow.
Hi.
Hi, Eyal.
Hi, Eyal.
Nice to be
Eyal is an expert on creative thinking. I think there's something about it only because, Eyal is my cousin and I used to babysit him. So I think that helps.
That's very nice.
Help his creative.
You're part of the story,
part of the whole thing, right?
She used to babysit you, now she's babysitting me.
I used to walk around the neighborhood with him in the stroller, and he's one of the most creative people I know, really.
And he actually part of my personal history because I grew up in Square Dizengoff.
Yep, but Eyal was the son for my cousins. I mean, his father is the youngest brother of my father. So the whole family lived in the same building in Dizengoff, but they didn't.
Always.
They were in Haifa and then they came to
That doesn't count, Haifa. But anyway,
I think it helped his creativity a lot.
Of course, because what do you have in Haifa?
Although with our genes, I think it's a good plant, and it could...
the survival kit, it's a kind of survival kit.
That's right.
Yeah, but however, it's not just creative thinking, it's also, dealing with management and with education, and he used to deal with happiness.
Right.
Yeah.
And we will get to all of it.
If you go even backward, he used to write screens to the screen and theater. He's all over the place.
Oh, you used to write screenplays?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking.
Once upon a time.
Wow, okay.
He's a smart guy.
So just to tell you that I teach at NYU. Screenwriting, producing, directing. So no, we can meet later. However, Tzili, why don't you reconnect with your babysitting object?
Yeah, with your permission, I think maybe we should touch today because you touch everything. So maybe we'll touch a little bit education, parenthood, happiness, especially in Corona times, although in Israel you think that Corona is over, but it's not. And maybe we'll start with this. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
In education, because I noticed that the way we studied is the same like today. I have a granddaughter, she's 13, and my two grandsons, 12 and 9, and they really study like they used to teach me. Nothing changed, except they make it as if they sit in circles, but
So if you want to start with education, so it is a huge, there's a huge difficulty.
If Rose
in Israel, it's considered to be like the startup nation and everything. Everyone should be so smart and innovative and creative and resourceful. And all of a sudden, what about education? Why Israel is not like the education nation? Right? It makes sense with all the Jewish wisdom and all this stuff. I guess that part of like the focal point, what I do, you ask me what I'm doing, is trying to solve problems. And you have to find a focal point. And I guess that in education in general, we have these final exams, like the final test. So this is like the most dominant mechanism of the whole system. And everything is directed to the final test. Why? Because you want to measure something. And the only thing that we can measure that is measurable is mathematics, language, and that's it, and science. So all the rest is much less important. It's like nice to have. So on one hand, we already know that we need all these 21st century skills, like to be more creative, more open-minded, more flexible, more to socialize, to be more motivated, whatever, but you can't really measure it. So on the other hand, what you're left with is mathematics, science, and language. So you mentioned that it wasn't changed so much. And I think that the answer is because of the measurements. You only stick to what you are measured upon.
Yes.
So if it's mathematics and science and language, so everything else is just nice to have. So from time to time, we're going to play outside and speak about creativity and
But and I'm not talking only about Israel. Most people, and I'm very generalizing everything. Most people are not that creative, and most people need frames and boxes and programs and a line to follow. And hold on. And the systems created, cultures are based on systems that created a way that everybody basically planned their life according. So education is much beyond what you teach in the class, because the whole life is programmed around it. And basically, I never understood the whole idea of the testing, especially when you had kids that got permission to test differently, got permission to do it by heart, got permission to do it from home, got permission, because you cannot box in a group of so many kids and say, this is the only way. No, there are 5 zillion ways. But how can you lay out something systematic that everybody can handle and still breathe and still allow to find your own way and not to be afraid that you're out of the main road?
But first I answer, but first I must say that everyone is creative. And it's not a cliche. Yes. Everyone is creative. Absolutely. And our ancestors were so more creative than their peers, and this is why we survived. And creativity is not just like for genius. It's like on a daily basis. So everyone is creative, and
but on different levels.
Let him explain.
On different levels, okay. On different levels. Okay.
Yeah, but not huge differences.
Yes. Yeah.
It depends how much you let him develop his curiosity, how much you help to. You can change the mind of kids. I just want to tell you, I will try to do it very short. I made a film. It was only shown in the parliament because you cannot really show it. Is why so many students are pushed into special education. So what I did, I went to the kids with special education and I sat with them and I gave them questions, not me, but somebody from the Van Leer Institute, questions about understanding text. They understood that everybody else, but nobody ever asked them.
Right.
They were just shoved into special education. So because they need to fill up special education, like you said, people getting, I'm really interested in your approach to the creativity in kids.
Yeah. So first of all, everyone is creative and everyone needs his or her special education. That's the basic. Okay. So the whole point is we have so many categories. So this is part of the problem. Now, back to what I said in the beginning, because we have only very limited scope of like batteries of tests that are scientific or scientific approved. So we have this obstacle to actually dramatically change the whole concept of education. Now, among kids and adolescents, by the way, the same among adults. We are creative. We can practice our muscles of flexibility on a daily basis. And this is part of the deal, because I truly believe in like the different dimensions of our lives. Don't ever think that you have to be creative only at work or in your university, or it has the same idea with your spousal relationships, with your parenting, with your grandma, your grandpa. You're mentioning the COVID-19, so you should, prove your resourcefulness and creativity in order just to survive this period. So I think that post COVID-19, we don't even need to convince anyone about the importance of creativity. Now, first of all, we need to convince everyone, and the teachers and the principals, that there are talents, they have their professional, we have to respect them, and we have to give them the opportunity to really to show their talent. And the first thing that I do is never I never try to teach them how to teach. I never try to show them how to do their profession, because I used to do that, and it was awful, because
it's not easier for them. It's not easier for them to teach like this, and
No,
it's
not.
more difficult, for example, to train for creativity.
I'm sure there's some like that and some like that.
Yeah. I think that there most of them really wish to do something very essential, and it's a hard work, and we need to support them.
Right.
Yes.
And like part of the sequence is the parents.
Right.
Because the parents are they press the system
For results.
grades, high grades. So they are so ambivalent with regarding to whole the outcome of what does it mean to have a good education. So they tell you that they want to have a free spirit kind of school.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, they want 90, 95 in mathematics.
They want to recognize something that they know. And I grew up in Israel, but my kids are part of the education system here in the United States. So I know more about the system here than in Israel for this generation. But I always felt that the system and the parents are collaborating and they execute the kids. And on the heads of the kids, basically, they're being victimized by the whole giant group that is not ready or maybe a little bit lazy or scared to change. Now, it's true, the United States is much, much, much bigger, and it's a hell of a system and a hell of a structure. And I remember that at one point when my boys finished high school and they had to do the ACT or something, and I said, guys, you just need to do it and move on. So one of them said, I don't understand. You always break the system and you do bypass ways, and we go different ways. And here you push us. I said, listen, you usually can break the rules and find your way, but here it's a big wall and you'll break your heads. So swallow it, do it, and then we'll continue to break the rules and find our ways. But I always put them in progressive places. And if I put them in a regular place, I got depressed first after like a few days, and then they got depressed, and it was a punishment.
Yeah, but
progressive
places in America is expensive. Most progressive schools.
But I found out that the parents are not ready,
right.
And they choose the system to fit their needs, and they cover it with the money, and then the kids are gone.
So how can you
change? It's easier when you have someone to blame. So this is the.
So how can you change how can you encourage the system to really let the teacher use their ideas and push for creativity?
Yeah, what I do now in Israel, I'm like a consultant of the Ministry of Education for the last 4 or 5 months. So it depends on politics now if I can continue my vision. But the first step I did is to ask. We have like more than 5,000 different schools and like thousands and thousands of kindergarten. So I assume that 1 out of 100 or 1 out of like 1,000 is like has a very, very good and brilliant idea.
Mm-hmm.
So I did is I started to collect the different brilliant ideas, because this is part of my mission, is to convince the teachers and the principals that I'm not like the new wise guy who will try to trick them and to teach them. I want to hear them.
Yes.
So
that's wonderful.
What I do now is to collect the good ideas, and I say every school, in my perception, every school is a laboratory, is a potential laboratory. So I guess that each one of you has a kind of an idea. Now, the obstacle was talking about education, and that you can't really do that. It's not a factory. It's not an industry. It's not it's a different field. You can't really share good ideas. And I say, really? Seriously, guys, it's the same. Enough with that. Education is the same. Medicine is much more complicated. At least it's the same with same challenges. So we have to find a way to share good ideas.
But Eyal, don't you think that it's important to start it in schools for teachers, in seminars and in the university? So you basically, the students that choose to be teachers, they know already if they can handle a change in the system. And it starts from there, because ideally, I wish that they would demolish all the private schools and have neighborhood schools, small schools with great teachers, and just have a great education for everybody. I don't think it will ever happen. But I think that if you, not only in Israel, there's something that, first of all, to raise a generation of teachers that are able to think this way, so then they can work with the parents, because it's a very deep, slow, far-sight process that will take forever to change the whole thing.
In an ideal world, in a linear and ideal world, you can go to the first step and then the second step and whatever. Now we don't have the time, and I think that you should when you analyze the situation, you have like a short term, mid-term, and a long term. Okay, so the short term, like the quick win, is to be very concrete in saying that the challenge is, guys, I know that some of you are extremely brilliant. I want to hear you. We want to base our, let's say, next step on your insights. Let's do that. Okay, this is the message. And I don't call them teachers. I call them talents. Like in high tech, it's the same for me. So I'm working with like talents from the high tech industries or whatever. So I address them the same, and I say, yeah, it's the same.
My next question, it's the same.
It's the same approach. I never try to say to an engineer what to do, and the same with a teacher in his class. So it's like the same respect, but then I can be as demanding as I am with the high tech companies, talents and managers. So that's the deal. This is the privilege and the duty of being a talent. So
but I want to ask you for a second about the high tech, because I always feel about the major companies that basically the leader, who is very creative, bring in a group of creating people, but he's boxing them into his own creativity because he wants to lead something
not a good manager. Not a good manager.
Hold on. No. If you look at all the big companies, basically you have a leader and they give great conditions and they bring great guys to the whole system, but they create a system of their own that would serve them in their way. How do you compare it to the schools? Because it's still not working place schools.
I guess that the explanation might be, your argument is that they are genius. And if you take the big, you said at least 3 times big, the big companies, the leaders are quite genius. It's well known if you take like Reed Hastings, Reid Hoffman, Zuckerberg, whatever.
But they do listen to their.
Jeff Bezos, they are genius. It's not that. It's right. Like it's very exceptional, okay, and in any sense. So,
but wait a minute. But in high tech, they bring in people, and they really are very happy if the people that they brought in developing something creatively that they can really enlarge the company. They really are waiting for the people that they hire to bring. From them, from the work, the workers.
I guess that you can find many talented people in every place, but I think in schools as well. So part of I emphasize it again and again and again, because people tend to say, the teachers are like low level or whatever. It's not the truth. It's not the situation.
There are many more talented people than we see, and we can really give them the chance to.
Yeah, they are.
They're pushed down, and at the end, they
yes. Now again, they are pushed down by who? Now again, this is the coming back to. It's very easy to blame. The parents blame. They blame the teachers blame the principal blame the system blame the supervisor blame the system, and then
let's go back.
Election, it's like a vicious circle. Okay.
Yeah, let's go back to the Minister of Education. We're talking about a system that has to work well with the political system. Now, we know that in the political system, they switch people. Well, Netanyahu never leaves, but hopefully he will now, but they switch people. How do you think, what will happen? Who would lead who? The political system or the advanced or the free education system? Who can lead who? Because something major is changing as we speak. And the question is, who would set the rules? I mean, whatever the people that we talk about will push the politician to change something, or the politician will push down not to.
First, if you're talking about Israel, I think that the cliche of like no one knows is like has never been so correct.
Yes.
And if I were British, I was allowed to say no one fucking knows. Okay, so I am saying like it is a mystery, but in Israel, specifically in Israel, everything goes into politics. So it's very loaded. It's like part of the struggle that we have on our identity right now. And it's very, very, very loaded and fragile. So I can tell you, I can say that I met highly professional people in the Ministry of Education, and I think that they have their purpose. And also, I talked to the current CEO of the Ministry of Education. He's a great guy. He really wants to change.
That's what I wanted to
Now, he really wants to change, truly, yeah, and he has acquired the right person in the right time. Now there's the window of opportunity. No one knows what's going to happen, and this is part of the problem.
But I think you are right. Listen, you should seize them. It will be the same, because anyway, because I did a film on the Prime Minister's wife, I was a lot in the government, and I know that the people who decide, it's not the ministers, it's the CEO.
Mm-hmm.
So if if the CEO, if you can get, if you have a relationship with him, and he is what you just told me.
He's a great guy, but again, everything is.
You can change anything.
Everything goes into politics. So if you have another Minister of Education, he might.
That's the thing.
So everything is so unclear right now. What I can tell you is that you have more talented people than it seems.
Yes, always.
But I don't want to go to the easy way to say that the system is like the bad guy here. There's no one person, 1 point. Okay, there's like the whole circle should change. And Tzili, you mentioned parents. I think that parenting should change, and the perspective is different. If you want your kid to be more creative and more resourceful and more an entrepreneur or whatever, you have to
right.
go back,
but they need to feel comfortable and safe. Yeah, parents need to be. If we again, I'm generalizing. Parents.
It's the question of confidence. Yes,
comfortable and safe in order to really go for it, and many people are not. So it's a process, and I hope that what we're talking about would lead for great people not to leave Israel once they reach certain point, and pour back into the society in Israel.
But change, Tzili, is that when we grew up, I think even you, now we have schools who are actually push for creativity, like the democratic school.
Yeah.
Even in high school, the Haifa Reali, I don't know how to call it, and also Herzliya High School, because of the principles. The principles are pushed. Kfar Yarok,
where guys, the moment
I think your kids are going to Kfar Yarok.
The moment we have like the final test, like the final test,
really?
And the topic will be, the new profession would be like curiosity or creativity. So all of a sudden you're gonna see that people, especially parents, are really engaged with this idea, because it's considered to be part of the final exam. So again, if it is important, so turn it to be a must-have. And if it's like in the margins, it's very marginal, it's like nice to have, so no one cares.
The problem is that you have to prove, and you have to basically you have to have the right numbers. And you know, both my boys are in Sarah Lawrence College. They don't have tests. They don't have exams. And I hear other people talk about, okay, they give me numbers. They got this and this, they got this number. And I said, what are you talking about? I mean, we're talking about people, not about numbers. It's not a farm with cows that you number them. I don't understand it. The whole attitude, because it has to fit in the right place so they can build their future, so that it can be worthy, because you put money aside since they were born or since you got married. The whole society is based on assumption that you have to fit in the numbers. At the same time, they want you to thrive, but
because
something doesn't sit well.
People wish to have certainty, and they want some concrete answers.
Right.
They can't deal with uncertainty, and
it's easy.
Enough with the COVID-19 and all this. You know, we want to have back regain our sense of control, and enough with that. We want numbers, we want data, we want statistics. You know, and so on the one hand, we know that our kids must be more creative and to deal with uncertainty. And on the other hand, it's too much to handle.
Right.
So this is the tension. Then back to the beginning of the session, I told you that the solution is now to find a way to measure in a scientific way the soft skills that we wish our kids to enhance. Until we reach that point, nothing will change.
So
Because
take us for a day, let's say with a 5th grader and with 10th grader, just how would you see it?
And what subject you think, what they will choose to talk in class?
Again, I couldn't hear you for the last.
Take us to a day from your point of view, from your idea. Let's say 1 kindergarten, 1 elementary school, 1 middle school, and 1 high school.
Yeah. What do you mean? The ideal.
Your ideas of what they teach, what to teach.
Or how?
It's not. It's about the how first. It's not about the what.
Course.
I don't deal with the what because
no, it's a how.
In stories, especially in Israel.
Don't tell them what to
get it. Right. Yes, I don't start with it. It's all about the how.
Yes.
Now the how, I think it's. The ideal week. I think that one day will be dedicated to like only English, for example, only English. So talking in English, yelling at English, arguing in English, playing in English, and all of a sudden the English teachers will have their position because, let's say, I depended on them to provide me with some sentences that I can use in break time to play soccer with my kids because I'm not allowed to use the Hebrew. So let's say, to dedicate one special day for a profession. And then another day at least will be like free learning, that you have the open space. You should teach yourself how to deal with the material by yourself, whatever. But it's also the little things, I think, like to be more playful and more dynamic in the way that you play with time and space, with the schedule. You mentioned the necessity for like organized elements or organizing elements, which is okay, but you have to play between the predictable and unpredictable, the certain and uncertain, like the ambivalent reality we all live in. So it's like it has to be more of a reflection of this ambivalent reality. So some days will be you have like pre-planned some activities, and then all of a sudden a surprise, because this is a more true reflection of what we deal with. And of course, that we have to enable our kids to interact with the real world. It's too theoretical. The whole issue of schooling is too theoretical. You have to let them interact with real life. And this is, speaking of COVID-19, this is the huge advantage that we have had in COVID-19, except for the danger and everything. It's like that kids were stuck, yes, with their parents. and they could have seen their parents in action. And this is amazing, because usually you don't know your parents, you don't know anything about them. And all of a sudden, the whole family was together.
Yeah.
This is real life, and this is what we should stick to when we come back after the COVID-19, to
believe it will
really interact with real life.
So what do you say about teachers that give homework?
Well, you know me, I'm against this idea, and I'm not the only one. Speaking of the US, we have like very, very important American scholars are against homework. Again, it's all about the how, okay? Because usually homework is a very, very automated activity.
Learn by heart.
If the focus was on implementation, so I'm fine with that, but this is not the case. So I'm not saying that you don't have to practice. You have to work very hard. Don't get me wrong, but
yes, but in a different way. Yeah.
Yeah, in a different way, in a more you mentioned about more personal way, more diverse way, or whatever. So we have to do something with that, and I think that the focal point is, first of all, the final tests. Second is to give the principal the freedom to lead and manage. And this is, you have to do that. Now, part of my idea is not only to collect all the, let's say, the successful stories. It's also about choosing the 100 top manager principles in Israel or in every country. I guess that it will be more more similar to the high-tech world. Let's say I want to know who are the best principals, because I'm looking for leaders. I want to pass them the baton. I want you to lead, guys. You are the professional.
Yes.
So we can be only the facilitator here, guys.
Yes. And we have both principles.
There basically need to be leaders of communities, because you have communities that parents don't have time to deal with.
This is the perfect concept.
Right. And once you have a whole, it's like a whole community approach, then the principal can work with the parent, because I think that the whole education with the parents is not easy. And you know, remember when my boys were in elementary.
What an understatement.
Well, they like kindergarten or something, and I said to the principal, and they went to a Jewish progressive school, which was really unusual. And I said, why do you give them homework? She said, well, do you understand the meaning of the word? I said, they are with you from 8 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock afternoon. Leave them to me for 2 hours. I don't want to have a conversation. Did you do homework? Do you need help? I don't want to talk about it. You have the most of the day. Leave me alone. And I said, so she said, how would I know if they know the material? I said, the half hour at the end of the day, sit with everybody, see what they remember, what the weak points, if you need to collaborate with them. I said, most of what you teach, I cannot even understand. And you tell me don't teach them mathematics because you destroy their knowledge. I said, this is ridiculous. And then since it was a Jewish school, all the kids used to run to me before they went home. Please help us with Bible, with Hebrew, with this. I said, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And then
there's another point here. The moment you say, you give them homework, you invite the parents to be involved. Yes. And that's the point. Because then you started as a school. You invited them to be part of it. And now they want to be part. They want to have an influence. And this is a very bad idea.
Because then they take them backwards to their own thing instead of let them go with the principal, with the teachers, and fly. You know, which is much better.
Coming back to the point of trust. Yes,
just to tell you that in the COVID, at least at the level of universities, I don't know, with the Zoom, right? A lot of schools now, you know, ask the students they form groups of 5 students, and they have to meet outside class and discuss anything, and devote half of it to what was in the lecture, to discuss in a group once a week outside this, you know, and it's really a fantastic system. I don't know if it's still, if they will implement it, you know?
There's many variations of like small groups or whatever.
Yes, but outside.
I'm afraid, yes, I'm afraid that people are so eager to come back to real life that
Yes.
they might forget almost everything.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think we can go back to real life because there's no going back, and the question is how we're going to take advantage of the last year and a half and really take the opportunity to change basic things that can turn into something else.
Definitely specifically for that, I work now with a city in Israel, and like next month we're gonna have every kid in the city will fulfill like a special certification. It's like a special document about to reflect upon the last year. So, like, different questions about my abilities, where were I surprised myself, what to be, let's say, to know how to manage myself.
What did I find out about myself?
Yeah, they put
yeah. So this is like this is an enterprise that we do with the whole city. It's going to be a very festive event, and this is part of what we try to do, as you said, to earn this this horrible period or intriguing or fantastic period. It depends who you ask. So this is part of what we have to do to reflect. Radio and media, one of the famous educational system, they say that without reflection there is no education.
Yes. Right. So I actually asked my student to write a half-page reflection. I call it a reflection on the lecture, by the way. So just their thoughts, so take it where you take what you heard, where you take it.
Yes, I try now to consult, try to help the IDF here in Israel. Recruiting team, the recruiting unit. And I told them today that, speaking of reflection, that all you have to do is to ask every soldier at the end of every course or whatever, to sit down and write the way, some of my new insights and the way my life has changed. And that's enough.
Wonderful.
Turn the whole experience
to
like a kind of a huge workshop of self-fulfillment or whatever, of self-discovery,
It will make them happy.
It's like a little mechanism. That's all you need. You're not allowed to finish this course, for example, if you don't sit and write a whole page of reflection.
You know, your boosts are self-esteem.
But I don't know if it will make them happy. It will make them aware.
Not just aware.
It's not about self-awareness. It's about self-esteem. It's a personal precision. It's about.
But Eyal, I think it's a much bigger picture because what happened is going to change a lot from professional point of view. So basically young people that come out from college or from the army, the world or the workplace or the market changed in a way that we still don't know how deep and how far. So the question is if they have tools enough to navigate in the new world that we don't really know how to recognize it yet.
I guess that most of the young age they are so talented, really. They are so talented.
Right.
And they will lead. I believe that they
are so afraid of their future, and we have
we're not.
You know, they're going to help us.
I think it's exciting.
So they're going to help us.
Exciting.
They are so brilliant and natural. The whole point, this is why we emphasize the how. Because all we can support them is to enable them to be more prepared to the coming future is by this emphasis on the how.
I think it's about trusting them to lead us and just follow. But I remember reactions at the turn of the internet, how people said, oh, it's different. It's not like us. It was better with us and the books and the ta-da-dam. No. This is good and this is good. Just let them go and follow them and enjoy because it's exciting and it brings a whole new world. But people don't know what to do with it.
8 years ago, when I said that I'm in favor of computing of computer games And I really and I encourage parents to give their kids to play with computer games based on some interviews that I did with like some of the leading psychologists all over the world. People blame me of like accuse me of like being irresponsible and why kids, the young generation of Israel, whatever. And I said, and I said the same. You can read books all your life, but they can be like rubbish. It can be full. It's all about what and how. It's not about how many books you read or how long. It's about the quality. It's about the approach. It's about the way you implement things and reflect upon things. And I think that and parents are so intimidated by technology, and it's like,
Yes.
this is not the way you should handle it. Yes.
Right, but tell me something. As far as it's almost like everything that we talked about somehow connected to what you used to do research before, happiness. Mm-hmm. If you didn't agree with me a minute ago, I think whenever you boost self-esteem to the kid, whenever you trust him, to reflect and you listen to his reflections, you actually, he will grow up a happier person.
The question is, what is happy and how to apply it?
Okay, so let's hear a little bit.
In 3 minutes. First of all, happiness based on like every philosopher from Eastern philosophy or Western philosophy, it's the same, because people told me now in China they won't accept it or whatever. It's the same. Happiness is a meaning, or like the accumulating sense of meaning that you yourself have to find your own meaning, your own story, the way you connect the dots of different stages of your life to a one, let's say, cohesive story. Okay, this is the sequence that you have to create. This is your responsibility. Now, it's a mixture of pleasure and meaning, which meaning is much more important. You can have fun in your life. I don't say that you have to sacrifice that.
Sure.
It's not the deal. But meaning, what differentiate between like pleasure and meaning? It's pleasure is something that truly slips through your fingers. You can eat the best chocolate cake and it disappears. Okay, like after like few minutes. Meaning is something else, that you manage to raise a family, to let's say you learn very hard in order to finish your degree. You manage to to earn money, whatever. You manage to climb a high mountain. So it's like it's a process, and when you finish, when you got this at the end, it doesn't disappear. It lasts. It becomes part of you. So true happiness is meaningful, is meaning. So if you want to differentiate between like a cheap concept of happiness and true happiness, you can't tell me that being a mother or like raise kids or like to raise kids or to be a parent or to be a good spouse or whatever, to be a good citizen or to, you can't tell me that it's not part of you. You can't tell me that that sense or emotion slips through your fingers. So, which means that this is a true happiness.
Well, Hedonism.
Just a second. This is why people at the age of 60 and 70, based on many, many different research, they supposed to be happier than young people, because they manage to accumulate sense of happiness or sense of meaning. Okay, which is like this is the case. So if you think of happiness as like a cumulative sense of meaning, so everything is more clear now. And Aristotle told us, the Greek philosopher, that happiness is not, you can't really deal with happiness in kids. It's too early, because you need the time and the perspective. And then you see the people at the age of 60 and 70s, if their health is good enough or like average plus, they are much happier. Okay, if they've done something okay with their life, now the major enemy of happiness is this sense that of, let's say, that I I didn't do what I had to do. It's like something that I feel that I was afraid. I didn't make the right choices. But if you manage to accept the different stages in your life, throughout your life, and to structure a whole story, like a comprehensive story, so you have a meaningful life and you are a happy person.
But you know, I think the definition of happiness is not taken in the correct way, and people make it a little bit cheap, and they throw this word too often without thinking even what's behind.
Because they have a need. They have a need. No, this is their need.
It's not about happiness. It's about being comfortable. To like well-being, maybe like there's like you can take the Gallup, this international institution.
Yeah.
They have an amazing question when they measure different countries and the level of happiness. They say, when you imagine that you have a ladder between like 0 to 10, like different, like 11 different stages. Now, let's say that 10, the end of the scale, it's like the happiest level that you can imagine.
Yeah.
Now, in your age, now, here and now, how far do you feel from this, like the end of this scale? Yeah, let's see. How far do you feel you are? And by the way, this is the reason, and this is a very good question. Why? Because Tzili mentioned the cheap concept of happiness. It invites you, or even forces you, to go backward and to
reflect
on your life and reflect
on
your life as a whole,
yes.
Not like the last moment or the last week. It's not about emotional well-being. So this is life assessment. This is the name of this measurement.
Right.
And this is why Israel is the average in Israel is 7.2, 7.5, depends, it changes, and 7.4. And we are in the, I think, 11th or 12th place in the world.
Bad.
Like 3 years in a row. Why? Because if I ask Israelis about the last week, about emotional well-being, let's say all the neurotic spirit of Israel might come out. But I ask you about your life assessment. And so it's like to skip the moment.
Very smart question.
And it's more like to zoom out, and then it goes to like the foundation of your life. And I think this is the right description of it.
Yes. Wonderful.
So let me ask
I just have to ask him about hedonism. Hedonism is people who are hedonistic, for example. Can you hear him leaking? I'm afraid people can hear him leaking.
So what?
His hedonism goes, people who are hedonistic, how they will answer this question?
They will say that we are crazy, we don't know how to enjoy life, and we can, find our...
It's complicated, yeah.
They have their ideology, and maybe they're right, I don't know. I can't really see how can you enjoy the little moments in life if you don't have you don't have answers for some of the big questions of your personal life. Where should I live? With who? For what? What is my purpose? Why should I get up in the morning tomorrow? So
it's more of a moment of a conclusion, because if you really look at the picture and you look at yourself and you're aware to your process, you get to a conclusion and say, wow, I did it. This is really the foundation of happiness, because you made it, and then you keep going. It's not like a constant situation or moment that you pick here and there. There's something, I think, much deeper about it. But I want to throw you a crazy question. I'm always looking for a playwright that would take the Three Sisters of Chekhov to Moscow, because for years they're longing to get to Moscow. Nobody takes them. It's enough already. Do you think they would be happy if they come to Moscow?
No, definitely not.
No?
So would they have predisposition for unhappiness? Predisposition?
No, I think that it's not. It's like it's about to minimize the gap. You always need to minimize the gap, and yet at the same time, really to have this gap, like not to reach all your goals.
Right.
And so it's like,
yes,
it's a part. So I think that it's lucky for them that no one will save them from
the long trip.
anticipating.
yeah.
So this anticipation is very
Yeah,
necessary.
but quickly, because lately somebody told me that being a pessimist or an optimist is part of it is genetic. So I
Well,
wonder,
like,
the ability to be happy.
Yes, of
Can we
course, it's
develop
genetic.
this?
First of all, everything is also also depends on our genes. There's like G and E, the genes and the environment. So of course we have genes, we have the family, our family, we have the suite that we were born in. So you have your tendencies, okay? You have your scope of, let's say, genes, but you have this ability to play with it, okay? So
Right.
of course you have your tendency.
That's
You
a
can work only with what you can work with, okay? This is your deal in life. So it doesn't really matter if it's like 50%, 80%, 20%. Who cares?
So this part of the creativity.
You have to play with your cards, okay? That's the
Right.
deal.
And to be creative about
All the
really
time.
being
All
able
the
to
time.
reflect on yourself. And
If you want to be creative, so tomorrow morning, remember that the big revolution of the little creativity. Okay, it all begins with the way you get up in the morning.
Absolutely.
The way you travel with your family, with the way you have dinner with your
Right.
kids or family or your friends. It's about the little things.
But
Don't stick
these are the
only
basic
to the
things.
same routines all the time and complain about people, about your life. It's about the little stuff. This is part of, I think, part of my mission is to invite more and more people to, to be more creative and innovative on.
Which means you have to be more active, and it means that you have to put more into it, and I think it pays.
But but some people, they define
and not to be intimidated, just a second, not to be intimidated and to think that either like it's a binary concept, or either that I'm creative or not. No, you have like a huge scope of variations. That's all I say.
The last question is that for some people, I'm not trying to judge, but I guess there are people who really confine their life into the basic needs. Love, sex, eating, drinking. And some people, the portion, the size of the meaning is more important. Is it true? Does it vary between people?
I don't think so. And the most important thinkers and psychologists philosophers, it depends on the time and the era. But I know I think that I don't judge other people because I don't know them. I think that we are all much more similar than it seems, unfortunately or luckily, or I don't know, whatever you like. We have some genius, but most of us have the same anxieties and fears, and we share more characteristics than it seems in the beginning. And I don't know. The point now, I think that we all have this amazing journey to find our own way, and this is very challenging.
And don't afraid from changes.
Right.
Don't be afraid of changes.
Yes, and silly.
Eyal, thank you.
Wait. You have to tell you, first of all, not only thank you, but it was really very interesting.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
We have to take time now, probably eating a baguette, reflecting on our conversation. And I hope so most people who listen to you, would be inspired and try to change, especially education, right?
Let's hope.
So thank you, everybody who came, and we'll see you next week. And thank you so much, Dr. Doron.
Thank you so much, Eyal.
Eyal, thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.